But of course, as the technology gets taken on, people use it more. You're not going to tell me, like, say, every company is going to be like, need to use that as a form of ID.
We need to start thinking about our data as a big fat bag of free cash.
Anything that's on that device, it will access and utilize.
Hello there, everybody, and welcome to this week's Slotted in There discussion. And this week, we are discussing the BritCard. Apparently, it's going to be introduced as mandatory for everybody living in the UK, and we've got some opinions on that. So, guys, initially, what's your thoughts? Just top-level thoughts. Good or a bad idea?
I was going to say, technically, they didn't say it was mandatory. Technically. I'm just saying that because they did say, oh, it's not mandatory, but if you want to work or, rent a place or, live or breathe or look at stuff, then you're probably going to need it. But if you don't want to do any of that, then you can go without. So I don't know what their requirements exactly are, but it does seem to be that they're suggesting that maybe students don't need them. But of course, students are going to need them. And they're sort of implying that maybe pensioners don't need them, but in order to collect your pension, you're probably going to need one and things like that. It just seems like absolute nonsense what they've actually suggested about whether or not it's mandatory. But I think we probably need to examine what it is and what they're claiming it's going to do. So what do we know about what it is?
Right. Well, okay. So on that point, I've got a list of alleged pros for having the BritCard, the digital ID, and I've got a list of cons. So let's run through a few of those. The first pro, apparently, it's going to be convenient. It's going to be more efficient. You're going to get fewer instances of physical paperwork and things like that for proof of ID and identity checks in person. And you're going to have like one login or credential that works across multiple government services. So surely that's a good thing, guys.
Yeah.
In a way, putting all of the Gov apps into one app with one sign-on, one place where you can carry everything that you probably would have to have, like your passport, your driver's license, birth certificate, and on and on. You're going to have one centralized app for all of it. You log in once and you can access your HMRC, you can access your NHS, that kind of thing. I can see where they're coming from with it, and I can see how it would cut down some other service requirements and the print and everything else. But it's not just going to be that. It's going to be when you go to work, your work will supply your information tax related to HMRC, and also that will then be your bank details. There's other, what I would personally deem overreach involved in nearly everything that this is going to do. It's even going to track your location from looking at one of the images of what the app's apparently going to look like.
I was going to say, we don't know anything concrete about what the app is actually going to do, but I would be very surprised if once it's installed on a mobile device or whatever it ends up presenting as, if it didn't ask for things like location and access to SMS and access to your photos and that sort of thing. I would be very surprised if it didn't request all of that. I mean, we saw that previously with the NHS app, where that significantly overreached and asked for a whole bunch of permissions to things that people objected to significantly, and rightly so. So yeah, although we don't know that with any certainty, is it going to happen? Well, probably.
I don't think we need to have anybody say it's is or isn't. From the mock-ups and how it's been presented by other media outlets. It's an app, it's on your phone, and like most things on your phone, it asks for action, like being able to get into your microphone, your camera, your photos, anything that's on that device, it will access and utilize. and then send back? How often will it pull the information? Where is this information actually being stored, and who's storing it? Those are the bits that are concerning.
And of course, as you mentioned earlier, this is going to be centralized, which means probably a database which gives it, in essence, a single point of failure.
Well, just holding on that, because we're kind of getting into a bit of the con side of things. We're talking about the pros at the moment. So initial pro is it's going to be more convenient for your average Joe public, which I think we all kind of agree on. Yes, it would be. Everything's in one place. You've got one, account, that kind of thing. The other thing that they're kind of touting is it's going to reduce fraud. It's going to give better identity verification, stronger identity proofing, less reliance on like more easily forged things like passports and physical IDs. It'll give the potential to reduce scams, illegal working, unauthorized immigration by making identity and worker status harder to fake. So is that another positive, guys, or do we think otherwise?
I think it's a con. No, I'm being obvious. It's not going to stop fraud because your phone can get skimmed. You lose your phone, somebody steals your phone. What happens then?
I mean, I've read the government's website on this because I have a look a bit into it, obviously, even just hearsay. And on the government website, just because it's the government, they're saying, obviously, it's ideal if you do lose your phone in that scenario. They're saying it's great then because obviously it can be cancelled and a new one can be sent out quite quickly and easily digitally. So that's how the government in that scenario would solve that issue, Damien.
Oh, cool. But how do you prove you are who you say you are when you're asking for a new one to be sent to you?
Or if I am the person that's got the phone with all the details, and I've managed to get it unlocked, and then I go, oh, I've lost my phone. And I have all the details required to answer any of the questions to get another one, so I can then use it as somebody else.
Can you send a photocopy of your passport and
Well, no, I don't need it. It's all on this digital media.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not supposed to have copies of your passport, apparently. And at the moment, they're not even saying bank details because they haven't fully decided, but they're not doing. But I totally agree with what you're saying, Damien, that, the main problem with this one, reading from the government website, is like, yeah, it's just convenience. It's all brilliance and all that lot. And you don't need it. Police can't look at it. They can't ask you to look at it for identity.
You say that they were saying that the police can't ask you to look at it.
The police won't ask you to look at it. They can't legally ask you to use it as a form of identity, apparently. For now.
This is supposed to be cracking down on things like illegal working.
Oh, that's only if you're trying to go for a job. Someone would be able to check it and you'd have to use that as an identity to prove you can do it.
I think you'll find, under certain reasons, the police can.
Well,
they can do it with your phone now with certain reasons and aspects. They can't just ask for on the street or whatever just because you stood there. But if they've got particular reasons, a particular set of skills, they can just literally say they want access to your phone and be able to look. But it has to be under specific, like you're under arrest for something that you've done that way.
Yeah.
But
I feel it's going to be like, say, a bit, if I go back to the analogy, like, say, your contactless payment, isn't it? And so, yes, we'll still have cash and everything. You don't have to use, contactless. But actually now, a few years later, isn't it? There's loads of places now that don't take cash. They'll only do contactless, or do it on your phone. And like I say, they can open the floodgates with these things. These won't happen. But of course, as the technology gets taken on, people use it more. You're not going to tell me, like, say, every company is going to be like, need to use that as a form of ID for certain things. Like you say, obviously to pay, you see your pay slips and everything on it, so you get more data on there. Pubs will be using it to go into pubs, check identity. And again, even though say the police won't be using it, I'm sure you'd find after a couple of years or so, it'd suddenly be like, now that's a way police are allowed to stop and, check your identity. And we're suddenly in that state that we can't go back. So the main problem with this as well is obviously like getting it right. And if they do try and put it through, obviously, how do you guarantee that those things won't change a little bit down the road? Because I think once you've started opening the gates, the floodgates are going to open a bit like, say, the contactless thing, that you have to use it because quite a lot of places don't take cash in that circumstance now. Most people are moving away from it, so other people will be moving away from other forms of ID, and it'll just be this one app.
Moving on from that, then another pro for the BritCard is economic benefits and cost savings. Automating identity checks will reduce administrative overheads, and faster onboarding for private sector like banks, telcos, for public services may lead to productivity gains. Personally, I don't see how or why that would be a thing, but that's one of the things that's getting promoted.
Well, having listened to Starmer a few times on this subject, he's on multiple occasions said, "Oh, it's going to be free." And I'm like, well, that's not true, is it? It's not free. I mean, we as taxpayers are paying for it, and most estimates put it somewhere between 140 and 400 million to set this up, with an annual running cost of somewhere probably between 5 and 10 million. So it's not free. So I don't see how that, when they're saying, "Oh, it's going to be beneficial economy wise," how I'm not sure. I'm not convinced. If it's costing us money,
the thing is, the cost savings will come because it's replacing other things.
Yeah.
So, for instance, we'll go with your passport gets put on there. They won't have to print a passport and send it to you. So that's going to be a cost saving, and that's for
probably
everybody.
Unlikely to happen, because then we're expecting other countries to abide by the same system. If it's something like your national insurance number, then I mean, is it really going to save money on that? I can't think of what much else they might jam on it.
Get a national insurance card now. They don't. If you put it into the app, you don't have to have the card.
Yeah, but somebody still has to maintain that as this means servers have to run in the background. It means databases have to run in the background. I don't know that it's necessarily going to save all that much money.
There's still going to be those running in the background just to keep the monitor of a whole database of the numbers they've distributed out on a printed plastic card.
Ultimately, it's going to be like we say, though, down the road, isn't it? They're going to save money because they'll open it up to businesses so they can pay you, put your paycheck slip on there and all that lot. So, like I say, it'll save. That's why it's free in that sense, because it's going to save the economy down the line, because businesses won't be doing it and they'll be happy it's saving them money because there's a system there they can use to, show your pay slip and everything. But then there's a danger, as Damien pointed out, because obviously all your card details and your bank details then get onto the device, which they say aren't going to be there on at the start. But like I say, you just know how the way technology and stuff has progressed, that once it's adopted, those things will start to happen, and then you'll be stuck down the road, won't you? That you have all the stuff on your device that then someone can nick and take your identity. So
it's going to have your bank details on there. If you're paid by a company who's using that, the HMRC, your payslip, your tax code information has to be displayed, and where they're paying it into being your bank account.
Pro 4 is, and I think they're reaching here a bit, improved user experience, less need to carry physical documents, risk of loss or damage reduced. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's like, so instead of carrying your driver's license around with you, you've got your phone with you, which can get lost or damaged quite easily. So I don't really know where to go in that. I think we'll just move on to the last pro. Potential for innovation and new services. Once a trusted digital identity infrastructure is in place, other uses may follow. Secure digital signatures, online age verification, etc. I personally believe that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Once and when this goes in, there will be that creep of the usage of this thing.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
You're opening Pandora's box with this. You start going along with it because how they're selling it now is everything's easy. It's in one place. Yeah, agree. It's easy. It's in one place. It's what it's storing, and then how far out that's going to reach afterwards. With them saying that, I mean, how long is it going to be before you've got literally your entire life on this app, and then you have to watch 6 ads before you can access your NHS app because something needs to be paid for on top of it, Or if you want NHS Gold service, you can pay a premium price of £10 a month. This, and then what else gets bled into it? And then how long is it before whatever else you put into it starts to be monitored? I mean, is it going to be a case of they get the additional apps where when you go to use your PC, you have to sync your phone up to it, and then it turns around and goes, "No, sorry, Dave, you've already had 4 hours today on your PC. You're not allowed anymore." It's with them adding additional stuff in, there should be, if they're going to add additional stuff in or have a requirement for additional things that you have to supply, they should be upfront with it now, not go, "Oh, in a bit, we might add." No, tell us what you're planning on adding. What's the actual full roadmap for this? I mean, initially it was sold as it'll reduce illegal immigrants. It won't. It'll push them underground. It'll stop people doing fraud or stopping them working, illegally. It won't. It'll push those that are paying these people to push it underground. It's not going to solve anything that way, in my opinion.
Agreed. Shall we move on to the cons?
Didn't we already cover them?
I think we probably covered them, but let's go through the list.
Let's go through the list. Let's go through the list. We've probably covered most of them. So the first con is privacy, surveillance, and function creep, which is exactly what we've spoken about. Collecting and storing large amounts of personal data, photos, date of birth, nationality, etc., raises concerns about misuse, monitoring, and unintended uses. Every use of the digital ID could leave digital trails, metadata, when, where was the device used, enabling the tracking of people, which we've also mentioned, and fear that over time, more and more services will require the ID, even where it might not be strictly necessary, leading to the loss of anonymity in everyday interactions. Function creep. We have pretty much spoken about all of those things. Yeah.
I wanted to mention very quickly that I tried to dig into what the last big data breach was. And although I couldn't confirm it with a lot of different websites, there seems to be something about, because Spain, several other European countries already have like a national ID card, including Spain. And apparently there was supposedly a data breach in Spain in which millions of ID cards are now on sale on the dark web. Apparently that happened about the 25th of August or September. I can't remember now. I'd have to look that up. But yeah, it was in the last sort of month or so. So that doesn't bode well for this as a concept.
We can definitely rest assured that our data will be stored behind the best security that is fit for the budget, not for the purpose.
Con 2 then is security risks. So centralization or any large backend that connects many services is an attractive target for hackers. If breached, the consequence could be severe: identity theft, fraud. There's also risks around biometrics. Biometric data is sensitive, and once compromised, cannot be reset in the same way a password can.
This is exactly what I was saying about the like I say, as far as I understand it, a large breach of a large brioche, a large brioche of
French loaf.
millions of IDs. Yeah, millions of IDs. Yes, I know it's in Spain. It was just a mispronunciation. I wasn't trying to say brioche. But yeah, from what I understand it was reported on the Open Security website that millions of IDs are on sale on the dark web, stolen from Spanish citizens in a major breach. So, like I say, we're looking at a character with the alias Cypher404X. So if that name crops up again in our near future,
puts a bigger target on us.
And going back to what I've said in a previous episode, we need to stop thinking about it as data. We need to start thinking about our data as a big fat bag of free cash. And if you start to think about it like that, you start to realize just what an attractive target it is to somebody who wants to infiltrate that kind of database.
Okay, on to con 3 then. Digital exclusion inequality. Not everyone has reliable access to smartphones, internet, or the digital skills needed to use such systems. Vulnerable people or marginalized groups might be left out. migrants, homeless people, or those lacking documentation might find it difficult to obtain a digital ID or meet the verification requirements, which, yeah, I kind of agree with. It's going to be difficult for a number of people to use and maintain this kind of digital ID.
Do think that there is some plans to help support like a particular generation that don't know how to use or are not familiar with digital enterprise kind of things. As for those that don't have a smartphone or can't afford a smartphone or don't know how to use one, I think there are additional methods being put in place to assist in that area, but yet to be aired as to how that's going to happen. But as for the migrant issue, if they're legal, they shouldn't have an issue with it. If they're illegal, they're going to have a problem with it. But that's one of the features of what they were pushing this forward for.
And I feel like going back to the point about, let's say, people that don't have smartphones, because reading on the government website, again, it was using the argument that only like 10% of Brits actually have passports, whereas 93% of the UK, we all have smartphones and all that lot. So they're obviously thinking, from that theory, about 7% of people that don't have it. But they'll obviously put sensors in place and ways to, at the start, emphasize at the start, at the beginning, to help people and everything. But you'll obviously find for those people that can't access it, like you say, you're probably going to end up having to get a phone, like you say, even if you can't afford it, because if you don't, you will get help, but it'll be probably one centre miles away in a city or not local that you'll have to travel to, and all that convenience that they're on about of saying it's going to be isn't convenient, and you're going to have that additional cost for those people that probably can't afford it because they can't afford a phone, of trying to get to these centres just to prove that they can work. And some people won't be able to do it, and then they'll probably miss out on job opportunities or something silly if they can't get that data across, isn't it? So that's the sort of area, like I say, I agree they'll probably do it at the start to get you going, and there'll be lots of centres probably everywhere and all the customer service centres, all around the country. But much like our banks are disappearing off a high street because it's going to cost, it'll then narrow it down to very small places, and it won't be a convenience. So it will actually start marginalising and make life very difficult for quite a few people.
I'm going to skip a couple of the cons because we've kind of covered them in our previous responses. But the last one I'm going to bring up is civil liberties and legal concerns, possible conflict with rights such as privacy, freedom of movement, especially if usage becomes compulsory in some areas. Issues like maybe like Northern Ireland, for example. There could be concerns in those kind of areas. So, well, I mean, the rights on like privacy and freedom of movement, I think they're blatantly obvious because if the authorities have got all this information on you in one single place, and like Chris has sort of inferred down the line, is it going to be used for more nefarious purposes than apparently dealing with illegal immigration, as in papers, please? You need to present your digital ID to enter this part of the UK or to leave this part of the UK or to travel. That's a real worry.
It's going to be like 1930s Germany, isn't it?
Well, we did have British IDs way back when, didn't we? Was it during the war? It was I think it was initially brought in to aid with like conscription of basically proving, to send these young men off to war. And then that kind of like mutated into being used for various, more and more things which were encroaching on your civil liberties. And it got to like the police, could demand for your papers to prove who you were and when. You was just walking down the street. I think that's why it was abolished all those years ago originally. So we've already got experience of this. We've already got experience of the government potentially bringing these things in for the good of the people, but we know what governments generally are like. and they'll say things to get themselves into power, promise the world, and then turn everything 180 degrees on its head and use it to further their own ill-gotten gains. That's been my experience anyway. So there we go, guys. We're going to wrap it up now. It's a very contentious issue, but a highly important one for everybody if you're living in the UK. What are your thoughts on this issue about the digital IDs? Do you agree with it? Do you think it's going to be more convenient? It's going to provide better services to us as citizens? Or do you think that it's the start of Big Brother and the start of data gathering, you know, getting money out of us for the way we live our lives, or the services we choose to use, or things we choose to do on our day-to-day and the places we go? Let us know your thoughts down below. It's always interesting to read your comments, and they're always appreciated, and we always respond to them. Thank you for watching. See you next week.
Like and subscribe.